Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. Today's focus is going to be ink from China, ink from PENBBS. So those that watch the channel know that I have really enjoyed the PENBBS fountain pens, and I felt it was remiss of me not to try out their inks. Venice, a U.S. pen distributor, had their inks in stock, so I ordered some, and amazed me, I bought enough for no shipping, and they arrived in 4 days. So that was really nice. I got 2 bottles, and primarily I got 2 bottles because there were no sample available for these 2. And I got 3 in samples. These are 4-ounce samples, and of course the bottle is 60 milliliters. What's interesting is you have, looks like, the date of manufacture on the label. So that's really nice. This one was made at the end of December. So we're going to take a look at these color swatches, chromatography, and also I've inked up some pens, and we'll see how they write. And one of the things these are known for is for glitter. So obviously my pen that was advertised for glitter, the Leica acrylic pen, will be used. So stay tuned and we'll dive into these inks. So these are the sample ones I got, primarily because they were available in sample. A lot of the samples were sold out. I enjoy green, so this one looked nice. We're going to show you the swatches that I use to select these inks so you can get an idea of what you see on the websites versus what you might see in this review. And here's another one, a number 44. Definitely got it because of the blue. And then we have here number 236. It's interesting they use the same type of numbering sequence on these inks that they kind of use on the pens. So these are interesting bottles, you know, a lot of graphics, certainly not Chinese graphics on the outside. The bottle is, I think, unique, at least from my experiences with inks. It's 6-sided. Nice design on the top of the cap there. And nice labeling. And as you can see, there's glitter in there. And as Mike Matheson talked about from the sample he got from LA, you know, the glitter disperses relatively easily. So that's that one, and you know, there's the other one. These shipped very well. I think this is a great design. That bottle's going to be easy to fill pens with. So here's the other one, which might be an older thing. So this is just number 156. You know, made by PENBBS. Might be some of you that can translate that. I'll try Google Translate on that to see what I can get out of it. And again, the same type of cap. Easy to unscrew. Interesting kind of a purple family in there. Nice large opening, so it's easy to fit a good sized pen in there. So we're going to go through these in numerical order, looking at the swatch card and the chromatography. Definitely a very intense blue. And from the chromatography, we see a lot of blue, just varying degrees of blue. So I would say that this is an excellent royal blue, dark blue. I don't see any real sheen there. A little bit at the edges. Maybe that picks it up in this nice sunlight. You know, on the very edge where the ink was the thickest, you get a little bit of a, maybe like a little reddish sheen, but you don't see anything in the chromatography. So now we're going to look at some glitters. So this is the 156 glitter purple. And I think you can see that glitter reflects and is pretty well dispersed. And it actually looks good in the way it's written here, where I used my glass pen to write it. And then The chromatography I find to be, it's the first glitter ink I've done chromatography with, and as you can see where I laid down that first batch of ink is where the glitter has settled, and that looks pretty interesting. So from a purple, I would say that this is definitely one that might go into the Leica. Now from the website, I really was impressed with the June Pearl one. You can see that glitter comes out pretty nice there. But it's a light color ink. I mean, that's very light. And as you can see, even if it pooled it, it doesn't really get that dark, but you certainly do get a lot of glitter. And the chromatography is pretty much representative of what we saw on that color card. And again, there's that line of glitter at the bottom of the chromatography, representative of the type of ink that it is. I have to admit that ink number 236 I primarily got because of the name, and also because I thought the color would be interesting. It is definitely a blue color, lighter than the 44. It also does seem to have some glitter in it. You know, not quite as much as the June Pearl did, but, you know, it is there. And there's also some interesting sheen in the dark swatch that we had there. Maybe your eyes can pick up that color, but it's kind of like a golden color to me. The chromatography is also pretty indicative of what we see in the swatch. There's a little bit of a gray there from the first line that I put down, but the rest of it's a pretty clean blue, maybe a little bit of green in there. So it's definitely an interesting color, one of which I have to find the right pen to put it in. And then again, we like green. So Forgive Green is an interesting name, and again sparkles in here and could have some interesting shading properties there. And if we go to the chromatography, we'll also see a nice kind of pale green, and you don't really see that glitter. So the inks that really aren't called glitter, that appear to have some glitter in them, you don't have as much as you have, and it doesn't really settle. I got samples on this, so it's really hard to see if it settled in the bottom. Here are the 5 inks compared on Fabriano paper. This was written with Mandarin Duck. This blue came out very, very intense, very nice. The glitter purple is a darker color than what I expected, and so is the June Purple. And maybe you can see the glitter in there. Mandarin Duck also came out nice. It looks like the blue is pretty wet. The purple and pearl are definitely drier inks along with Mandarin Duck. And the Forgive Green also came out a little bit nicer than I expected based on the chromatography and the color cards. So the blue and the Forgive Green, I wrote the samples with this dipless desk pen. The nib's excellent. It's a 5/668 nib, so it's a little bit on the medium to medium broad size. You can see that cutout there. I mean, it'll hold a lot of ink if you dip the whole thing in, but I just dipped it halfway up the nib and got plenty of ink to write out these samples with, and it's easy to clean. Just rinse it in some water and you're ready to go. And it also looks kind of nice. Here we are on Tomoe River paper, and that glitter comes out pretty nice. You can see from the grid pattern we're going to do some water resistance testing on this. The pearl came out nicer than I expected, darker than I expected, and you still get that glitter. And the Mandarin Duck is, I like the color. I like some of the shading that you get in that. So too bad it seems to be sold out on Vanessa pens. I don't know if they're getting anything in or not, but that's how that looks. And I also took 2 of the inks and wrote on your classic 20-pound copy paper. And the glitter does come out pretty nice on this. It doesn't seem to be any feathering, you know, and the color comes out nice. definitely bleed through, but to me on this paper that's expected with any type of nice wet lubricated ink. So let's put some water on these and see what happens. Oh, I haven't used a syringe for water, so bear with me on that. Yep, we got enough water on there. So we're going to let that set for a couple minutes and see what results. Well, we've let it set for a couple minutes, so let's see when we dab off the water what's left. I'm definitely going to use a eyedropper next time instead of the syringe, because it'll be a little bit easier to apply, and there's a lot more ink left than what I expected. So I would say this is decent water resistance. It looks like the Mandarin Duck may have the least, but the two glitter inks seem to survive. You got about 50% there left, so that's interesting. So I put glitter ink in these clear acrylic pens, which were supposedly marketed by their Chinese sellers as glitter pens. There's a lot of glitter in the pearl one. Maybe it's because the ink is a little bit darker in the purple that you don't see the glitter as much, but it's certainly there. So let's see some live writing samples and see what you think. This is a fine nib, so it's not going to lay down that much ink, but it's certainly a usable ink. You also don't get any real flex out of this. And, you know, you can lay down a decent patch. Now, this is Tomo River paper, so the fact that it dries as quickly as it does is an indication that it's, you know, not exactly a real wet ink. So I deliberately use this pen because it has that left oblique ground from a oblique double broad Knox nib that I put in here. So I expected this to lay down a lot more ink and to be interesting, especially because I felt that this pearl paint was a little bit on the light side. And it actually looks pretty decent. I'm impressed. Much more usable than what I expected it to be. I wouldn't want to have put it into the real fine nib, but you know, I could see using this for letters and certain things. I couldn't see using it in a business application, but then that's not probably what it's designed for. And that dries even a little quicker than the purple did. So for a final writing sample, you may remember some of my videos where I talked about putting Osmoride nibs on Esterbrook. So I'm constantly looking for these. They show up on eBay. Sometimes they want a lot of money for them, but I found this pen with 6 nibs for a reasonable price. This is a B2. The B3 is where the smaller music nibs, and B4 is the larger music nib. So I felt that the Mandarin Duck would work well in this. You know, not an easy nib to use because it's so broad, but gives out some nice interesting shading, some nice line variations. I did a little bit of smoothing on this nib, but you know, not a lot, nothing that I wouldn't expect it to do. I mean, these were not expensive pens when they were sold originally. And it's easy to lay down a nice patch of ink, which again dries pretty quick. I'm impressed with how quickly this seems to dry on this Tomoe River paper. So hopefully you've enjoyed this look at some inks from China, which are, you know, pretty new, I think, on the US market and not easy to find, kind of like the Krishna inks I did before, but hey, it's worth taking a look at it. So thank you for watching. May you have many, many great pen experiences exploring this incredible world that we find ourselves in, and some amazing inks that are coming from some interesting locations. So this is the end of this video. Until we get together again, bye. I think this is a good combo. Really like it.